Welcome to the city of Xiamen in Fujian, China for the 2025 C&D Xiamen Marathon. As a World Athletics Elite Platinum label race for the 7th year now, this year's Xiamen Marathon will still be one of the biggest in China here at the Xiamen International Conference and Exhibition Center, which, as always, serves as the start and finish line. The elite men's and women's runners are already at the start line. I can see some big names from the men's and women's field in there. Course record holder Mare Dibaba is here today. Last year's winner Asefa Boki and Chalu Deso from Ethiopia on the men's side. Behind them, as always, as you can see, 5 waves of the main body. Lots of runners in there. The theme for this year's edition is again Run Together, continuing the drive to increase awareness of sustainable development in line with World Athletics and the United Nations goals to encourage sustainable development in all areas. There are the elite runners who will be leading the way and trying to break records. Certainly great conditions for running, no doubt. So many will be looking for good results. Weather is good, 15 degrees, ideal for running. Humidity at 60% with a light breeze to help cool off those runners should things get a little bit hot. VIPs, many from the LOC and CAA on hand to get proceedings underway. The runners in their thousands, ready for their 42.195 kilometer run. Some 30,000 runners taking part today again, which is standard fare for the first marathon of the year here in Xiamen. And we're almost ready to get underway now. Just waiting for the starter's gun. And they are off. The 2025 C&D Xiamen Marathon is up and running. Great to see so many runners back in Xiamen for what is a very, very special run in China. Always a great sight to see this army of runners getting started here. 5 waves of starts to handle the massive amount of participants. And have a look at that. Great shot from the helicopter. They'll be bringing us not just the aerial views of the leaders in the men's and women's races, but also some of the great areas and attractions from the wonderful city of Xiamen. The course every year weaved in and around some great historical sites and conservation areas. Always a big part of the marathon to integrate with the city itself. As expected, it only took them a minute or so, but the top runners already edging forward here. Good view looking down Fujian Road. The course here at Xiamen has very wide roads with a smooth asphalt surface. Makes it perfect for a large number of runners. The leaders getting into their stride already now, still in their opening kilometer and heading slightly downhill on their way to Huanlao East Road. Front runners looking to settle into an efficient, fast running style early. So important to get up to your peak running speed as soon as possible, especially when there are such strong contenders in the field with the leaders beginning to pull away slightly. Motos on hand as always as we get some closer side analysis. Top 7 here already running strongly. That's the big turn onto Huanlao Road that makes up a larger part of the course heading east and west. The elites already pulling away, and that's a big pack to start off with. Roughly 5 minutes in, showing good pace. Front runners at just over 3 minutes per kilometer, and that's their target for sure. And that's the time for a good finish if you can maintain it. All tightly bunched up. Just past 1 kilometer now. Good shot there from the helicopter. And let's take a look at the elite men taking part today. Defending champion Asefa Boki will have to watch out for the likes of Othman El Gumri from Morocco and Chalu Deso from Ethiopia. They were his main competitors last year. Not as many Kenyan runners this year, but Ethiopia stars all over the men's entry list. Ethiopia, one of the most successful nations at the Xiamen Marathon historically. But a high quality field today as we look through the list. Kibitok Shadrach from Kenya, a big name in there as well. And a good representation of runners from China as always taking part today. Mongolia and Eritrea represented also. Altogether a large number of professional runners taking part. Back with the men as they power through these opening kilometers. Runners still just on East Huanlao Road heading west. You can already see a gap increasing between the front pack and the rest of the main body. Just about to cross 4 kilometers. All started well, but that is a very big pack, close to 15 men in these initial stages. That's the part of the coast that they're on right now. looking good so far. And let's check in with the course for this year's race. After leaving the Convention Exhibition Center, it's west onto the coastal Huanda Road, passing some famous Xiamen landmarks, the Pacific Golden Key, Zhengchuan Fishing Village, Xiamen University and the Shimao Towers. Then it's a cut back inland on Liujiang Avenue using Huban South Road. That's the turn back there onto the turn back point at 19 kilometers. And it's back on Huandao heading east this time, sticking to the coast, past Gulangyu Island, Yanwu Bridge for a second time, then the Gulishan and Baishi Fortress. It's up to 30, Yifang Jai Beach at 35, passing the Convention Center once again on their left of time as they head for the second turn back point at the Zhongshan Yacht Club. And it's the last 3 kilometers back into the Convention Center. Wonderful course, and it's been in use now for a great many years, and the runners absolutely love it. Getting back to the course now, a few drops of rain on the helicam there, but still generally dry. And you can just make out our leading men on Huandao Road. There they are. Still in a very big pack of around 15. But it's the Ethiopian. So Farouk Kabeto, who seems to be in the lead, with Boki right there, right next to him. China's Yang Xiaohui also up front, which is good to see, closing in on 5 kilometers now. Holding steady at 60 humidity and a cool 15 degrees. They've just hit one of the many gradients here at Xiamen. You can see by the way the pack broke up and took a slightly lateral formation for a while, so each of them can attack the slope individually, more head-on, but all looking good so far. This is the Golden Key Junction at 5 kilometers, built to commemorate a national trade and investment event held in Xiamen annually, the China International Fair for Investment and Trade, the sculpture symbolizing the golden key of international investment and economic cooperation. That's the first of many landmarks on the course today. That's the hydration stop at 5 kilometers. I can see Chalu making use of it. And these are the 5 kilometer splits for the leading men. As expected, less than a few seconds between them at this point. As elites, they will all know how to start strong and keep that good race pace. And you can see exactly how far off the course record they actually are, but all keeping to roughly 3 kilometers per kilometer, which is solid. And that's a great view looking down Huandao Road. Thousands of runners making up the main body now on that road, trailing the leaders. And from the helicopter you can really see how many there are. Wonderful turnout this year, as it has been every year for the 22 years this landmark marathon has been staged now. Back with the men, approaching 7 kilometers, and Yang Xiaohui has been joined by Malaku Belachu up front, just behind the paces. The big form of Dawit Arega in the pink top also joining them, I can see. You can just see those gradients that these runners will have to face today. Those gradients may not be severe here in Xiamen, but they are numerous. And as the roads wind around, they also rise and fall just enough to cause that incremental build-up of fatigue, and on the lower joints especially. I say for Boki there, dropping back a little, as you can see. Last year's champion, struggling little early on. So at the 7 kilometer mark roughly for the leaders right now, and that pack hasn't broken down yet. Good running style being shown by all. Downhill by the looks of it. There's a shot of the coast from the helicopter. And looking at the current positions, Ethiopia, Kenya and Morocco within the leading pack, with Afewerk, Othman and Kibitok. I can see Malaku out on the right side as well. And there he is, just keeping an eye on the front three. Kabeto also in there as well. And that is the amazing Xiamen Shanghai Healthy Trail. It's about 23 kilometers long in total. Along the route, 8 mountains, 3 waterfalls, Lakeside Reservoir, and Wuyang Bay. No ground vehicle traffic allowed. There are all multiple viewing platforms, just like that one on the entire trail. Really is an amazing place and one to visit if you get yourself out here to Xiamen. Still on that coastal Huangdao Road, 8 kilometers in now. Leaders are heading uphill again. All looking solid so far. Change in leaders though. Malaku now edging ahead. Kibitok and Dawit following, and Kabeto and Chalu behind them. That is a very strong top 5 at 10 kilometers. It was about Sufaro Kabeto at the splits. You can see that the winner of the 2024 Nantong Marathon just under course record pace. Tabello in second, and a great showing from China's top runner Yang Xiaohui too. Uphill climb on this stretch just past the Zhengchuan fishing village and approaching Xiamen University. Good time to check in with both leading groups, men on the left and women on the right. Women just passing the headland just in front of the Baishi Fortress, another famous historical site in Xiamen. The men about 1 kilometer ahead of them. So far, this is looking like a very fast race for both men and women. Staying with the ladies at 9.7k, and I can see it's the 2 Ethiopians leading the way. Guteni Shona Imana, who was 3rd place finisher here in Xiamen in 2023, and Ruti Aga, who won the 2023 Dongying Marathon with a time of 2:18:09. They are both there up front, Guteni in the blue top and Ruti in the white. Both off to a good start here and starting their first ascent. Here's the full list of the women's elites, and you can see record holder Mare Dibaba back in action here in Xiamen, heading a huge list of Ethiopian entrants, including Mesret Alemu, former winner, and Guteni Imana. Gladys Chesia, the only Kenyan on that list alongside Mercy Jerop. Liu Min, the lead Chinese runner. But as they approach 10 kilometers, it's a pack of about 5, as you can see, with Ruti and Guteni setting the pace early on. This is their 10 kilometer hydration stop for the women, and it's looking a little congested, to be honest. I think that's Guteni that might be in the wrong place. Oh, that's a clumsy take at the hydration stop, and it'll cost her some time. Looks like she was almost blocked by a couple of male runners. 10 kilometer splits for the ladies, and all running at 3.17 per k, which, like the men, is exactly what they need to be running at this point. That's the Hulishan Fortress at the headland at 10 kilometers. It's a key national historical and cultural site. One of the fortress's cannons was actually listed in the Guinness World Records. It's at the top of Huli Hill overlooking the sea. This fortress was actually built to protect the island from invasion. One of the lead tourist sites these days. Men's leaders just past the 12 kilometer mark, and you can see from there the undulating road surface that they're running on. Just micro changes, but that can make all the difference and really affect your pace if you don't anticipate them and work them into your flow. This is one of the highest elevations on the course at the start of the Yanwu Bridge, and they will be heading downhill for the next 5 odd kilometers. Still a very long way to go in this race, so it's not that critical to be in the lead right now in the grand scheme of things. Malaku still leading here, but Kibitok Shadrock still has now claimed second. A lot of lead changes in this very big pack, each runner trying to push forward whenever possible. And that is a wonderful shot from the helicopter of the Yanwu Bridge and intersection just at the base of the wonderful Shimao Towers, those sail-based buildings. Great two-way running surface as shown here. Also has a lot of history attached to it. clear running space for the leaders, and lots of cool breezes as you can expect coming in from the sea to help cool them off. Also a great place for tourists to take a pic with the ocean as a backdrop should you get out here to Xiamen to visit. You can see the gradient that they're on, just slightly uphill. It, as I said, weaves up and down on this course. So staying with the men's leaders, just coming up to 40 minutes in. Still a very big pack of about 15, but that's Dawit, Wolde, Aga, who's making a move on the outside. And that's where they're passing right now. Xiamen University, this is the main campus of 4. It has an extensive portfolio of international collaborations, including an international cooperative program for innovative talents funded by the China Scholarship, producing great talents every year, that place. So also a great part of the course. Back with the men, and as you can see, it is Lesotho heading the way now through Tebelo Ramakonga Aona. He's already had some success here in 2023 when he was runner-up at the half marathon. There's confirmation of him on top of his 15-kilometer splits. But a lot of runners matching his pace, and Sufaro Kabeto is once again back up to speed, it seems. That's the hydration stop at 15 kilometers for the men. Everyone using it, but you can see how complicated it could be in such a big pack to pick up water. You have to time it just right, and some are getting in the way of others. So the runners nearing Gulanyu Island now. We get a great shot from the helicopter. A very familiar place to any who visit Xiamen. Although only about 20,000 people live there, but it is a major domestic tourist destination. In fact, more than 10 million visitors per year, making it one of China's most visited tourist attractions. It also has the highest piano ownership per capita in China. So to the men's race, and they're just approaching the turnback point, well onto Hubin South Road now, just over 1 kilometer from here to the turn. It looks like a pack of 10 to 15 in the front pack still. These top runners will now be focusing on that loop back and thinking how best to execute it at pace. So important to get that turn right, smooth, controlled, and executed well. Othman El Gumri from Morocco, the man up front now. Tebelo, Malaku, I can see Dawit also holding steady. Great shot from the heli for the Yanwu Bridge intersection. That now is packed full of main body of runners heading to Liuzhang Avenue and the turn inland. This is where the women's group is right now. Pack of 4 or 5 running within the group of male runners for pace. All showing good form, and here are their 15-kilometer splits for the women, and it's still all about Ethiopia. Ruti Aga, Guteni Shona, and Victory Adam Su joining them in the top 5. That's the South Puto Temple, famous Buddhist temple here in Xiamen. It's got a 1,000-year-old history, this place. The temple was first built in the late Tang dynasty. It was actually called the Xizhou Temple. It attracts a great many tourists every year, and as you can see, has some beautiful architecture and design built within it. Really is a great place to visit. So back with the men who have now made the turn already and are heading back on Hubin South Road. They are at 19.5 kilometers, and it's Kibitok Shadrach that has made his way through the middle to join the front runners. Malaku and Tebelo out on the right side, and Yang Shaogui still with the leading pack into the second half of the race. So a great showing from him to lead the China runners. Hydration stop at 20k for the men. This one a little more orderly, thankfully, all taking on hydration well. So important to keep hydrated, especially on days like this. The take of hydration needs to be just as fluid as the water itself. You have to hydrate, but it's crucial not to lose momentum while doing it. Those are the 20-kilometer splits. As you can see, Malaku is up front. Kibitok in there as well. All of them taking their hydration well, and that's good to see. So looking back now, lots of runners on Yanwu Bridge at this point, and this is the turnback point near Zhongshan for the ladies. They're approaching the turn. So this is the 19-kilometer spot for them. Here they come. And they make the turn. Quick change of step, but lost no momentum. And they start their second half of the race. Now heading back to the coast on Hubin West Road. Still Guteni and Ruti Aga and Victory as the top three, running within that pack of men. All looking very strong and showing some good running style. That is Yunnan Lake, located at the heart of Xiamen. It's a seawater lake, like a mirror, set on the island. Small, lush green islands in the lagoon, which are home to the egret, Xiamen's signature bird. The lake is a prime tourist destination full of green trails and pavilions, making it a popular spot for relaxation. But no time to relax for these leading women who are approaching 20 kilometers. Halfway roughly for them, following these paces. And this is where they are passing the helicopter now over Bailuzhou Park on the banks of Yunnan Lake. Has some lush trees, lots of winding paths, plus an open-air musical plaza as well. Wonderful place to visit. And there, that great statue. The egret goddess just in the middle, standing in the marina at the back of the park. So the women at the 20-kilometer hydration stop, taking up position in the middle of the road now, and this will prove a test as they all know what's coming up. Those gradients and undulations around Yanwu Bridge, that's what's next for them. And at the 20-kilometer splits, it's Ruti Aga that is beginning to pull away. That's Zhongshan Road that they are passing. Zhongshan Street is the nerve center of Xiamen tourism. All tourists, travelers, visitors, whatever you prefer to call them, they all come here at some point of their visit. It is said that more than 1 billion people pass through here every year. That's amazing. And as you can see, just on your screen, on marathon days, tens of thousands pass by just in one day. And this is all right in the center of the city. Very famous place, Zhongshan Road. So back with the leading men. We're now back on the Yanwu Bridge, heading east. Obviously, you can't see the subtle inclines and declines of the course from above. And we're back at ground level with the men once again facing another tough climb after this as they home in on 25 kilometers. You can see the effect of it, a little bit more ragged in terms of their form. Arm swing a little bit wider and loose. It's one of the pressure points of the course. It can really affect your overall results. Important to get it right and keep focused. Dawit there in the middle, but a good push forward from Kabeto, and that's a great shot for him, taking his place up front. That's very nice from the helicopter. Shows you the slope and also the other side of the road, which is packed full of the main body of runners. Long stretch of road. Quick look in on the other side. Good form seen there from the main body of runners heading towards the turnback point. You can see the legion of runners from the main body still making their way west on Hubin Road. The entire course at this point pretty much full of runners everywhere you look, and some of them getting to have a look on the other side of the road and see the leaders with their own eyes. Have a look at that. just goes to show you the difference in pace between the elites, the professionals, and of course the amateurs. This is where we stand at 25 kilometers. Still a very big pack of runners with many taking turns to lead the way. This time it's Tabello that looks to be pushing, but Capital Tola has also moved into second. It's a good crop of runners at this point. And it looks like Boki has recovered from that bad hydration take and found himself in the top 5 again. That's a good shot of the leaders as they just make that turn on Yanwu Bridge. They're the actual 25 kilometer splits, and as expected, it's Tola, Tabello, Safer Boki, Dawit, all in there. So Dawit and Kibitok, both former leaders, hanging in there, but not at the front anymore. So far, based on this pace, we might just get to see something close to the record. These records have held for quite a few years here in Xiamen. We'll have to see if history is made in these last 16 kilometers. Slightly slower pace needed here. That's Gulanyu Island, and once again, and we're getting a great view from the helicopter, and that's the stretch of coast the leading men are on right now. So that would be around 29 kilometers, in fact just passing 30. There they are now. It looks like last year's winner, Asepa Boki, has pushed again. He's now making his way up to the front. There's the women's marathon as it stands right now, and the men's marathon. Still could be a good shot of records here. For the international elites, it's Moses Mossop from Kenya with a 2:06.19, Mare Dibaba from Ethiopia with a 2:19.52 for the ladies. Both set in 2015, which on record is officially the fastest run in the over 20-year history of the Xiamen Marathon. Clear road in front of them on this side of the bridge. And that looks like the women. It is in fact. So that's Ruti Aga and Guteni. As I said, 2:06.19, 2:19.52 for the ladies is the record for Mare Dibaba. That's set in 2015. But Ruti Aga looking strong so far, and keeping that good upright position, and making sure that airway is clean. So the women are looking very strong. You just see a shot of the helicopter as well there from the back. You can see Victory also just joining Ruti and Guteni up front. So they are at 25.5 kilometers, and there are the 25 kilometer splits. Not far off that course record at all. Still making their way up Yanwu Bridge. They all need to push even harder if they're going to try and make those records. So I think we're honing in on the men now. So that is Huandao Road that they're back on. Just closing in on 30 kilometers. And you can see that's Dawit in the middle. Tabello's up front. Boki's just behind them. All taking on hydration at this point. and roughly about 1.5 hours into the race. So there's the stretch that they're on right now. The sun is now coming up at just passing 30 kilometers. So Boki is looking good. Last year's winner. Looking strong in his running style. But it is always a lot easier. There's confirmation of the male 30 kilometer splits, and it is Boki who is running fastest. Tola in second, Kabeto in third, Shadrach in fourth, and Dawit, Wolde, Arega in fifth. It is so different running in a pack and running in isolation. You get to keep the pace if you're with other runners. So it still could be a good shot at the records here, but they're, as I said earlier, they're going to have to push harder. There's a good shot of the Shanghai Healthy Trail at 32 kilometers now, and Chalu Deso from Ethiopia has pushed through to take the lead. Chalu finished third at the 2022 Sydney Marathon with a 2:07.8. He also won the Paris Marathon that year. This pack is looking good, all still showing good running form, good arm swing, upright position, head up to keep the airways as free as possible, and good cadence to that general movement. That's the stretch of Evenjai Breach that they're running on now. So the road follows the coast. It does make up such a big part of the course. There it is, good shot from the helicopter. And the sun is now up and shining, and that's an extra factor for them to deal with now. Always better to have cooler conditions for running. Direct sun makes that body temperature skyrocket. It can really affect your hydration strategy. Passing the 35 kilometer mark now, not long for them to go, as you can see the effect of the bright sun. A little bit more labored in their running styles. A lot of importance here on the Achilles and ankles. Achilles is such an important part of a runner's body. A full marathon works out to about 40,000 full force acceleration steps. Full impact on all the joints. But in the middle of all of it, you need a functional, flexible, and reliable Achilles. So, there's the leaderboard approaching 37 kilometers. And Afterwork Meslin has made his mark. Boki has dropped back with Malaku. You can see that pack just starting to break up a little. It has been incredible that such a big pack has lasted so deep into this marathon. You don't see that very often. Usually starts to break up around the 23 or 24 kilometer mark. But just beginning to stretch out a little now. Really is an important part of the marathon at 1:49, closing in on that 2-hour mark. You'll make sure you get everything just right, and of course you would have had to manage your energy beforehand. They're just passing the Straight Grand Theatre there in the background. That is the center for all the TV, arts and film industry in Xiamen. It's a beautifully designed and built structure right beside the convention and exhibition center, and massive as well. And as you can see, we get a lovely shot from the helicopter of that golden rooster statue at the front of it as well. Really wonderful place. Back with the men, and it's into the final 5 kilometers, still separated by a matter of feet. And with the final turnback point looming ahead of them, there is every chance that things could change here if any of these runners loses ground on that turn or the final stretch. At this point, every muscle and sinew must be burning for all of these guys. They've put in such a superhuman effort, but it's Tabello, Boki and Dawit that are holding their pace right now. Good shot from the motos following, and that confirms that the pack has finally broken down to roughly 5. That's the turn back point sign you can just see. Has to be a perfect entry and exit. All of them through nicely. We thought the last turn back point at Huben Road needed to be perfect. Well, this one has to be even more precise. And they're into the last stretch now. Sunglasses on for Dawit. That sun is burning really brightly now. And the pack breaks down even further. It looks like it's down to 4. That's Tabello, Boki, Dawit and Deso left. It looks like Afewerk has fallen back. He has. There he is in the back of your screen. Going uphill, that's why they're lateral. But nothing between these 4 right now. There's the 40-kilometer hydration stop marker. But it's all about pushing ahead for these last 4 runners. One of them will be our winner today, and with a very fast time as well. And that might just be Dawit, who's picking up speed and moves ahead. This is what it's all about. This is the business end of this race. Splits at 40 kilometers, and you can see how close they are, not just to each other, but to the course record as well. This is going to be a great finish. Dawit looking a little bit fatigued. Tabello as well. But can Boki, last year's winner, push through? Just passing the Straits Grand Theatre for the final time. This time it's on their right side. That is the final landmark. We've seen some dramatic finishes here in Xiamen in these last 3 kilometers over the last 2 decades. And we might see another today. And if these runners left hand have managed to keep any reserve energy in the tank, then they'll be looking to feed that into their feet for sure right now. Dawit Wolde really pushing ahead now. Just look at that lead he's building over Tabello. It's been a perfect negative split run from him today. A much faster second half of the race. But in these last kilometers, he's managed his energy so well. And now has enough to pull ahead when it counts. Good running form and style being shown by him. And that's Deso that has fallen back as well, which means it's Boki and Tabello in second and third, but they are so far behind Dawit now as he approaches the turn onto Fujian Road. That's the last turn, of course, into the city, and that will take him. There's confirmation of Deso that has fallen back. And you can see Tabello and Boki in second and third, both trying to push, but they just haven't got enough energy in the tank right now to catch that man, Dawit. So, Dawit makes the turn onto Fujian. That's the final road. The sun still shining very brightly now. He's dealt with the change in temperature very, very well today. And you can see just behind him, that was Tabello and Boki are starting to separate. Last year's winner just can't keep up with Tabello. So Dawit can ease off a little if he needs to, as he has a massive lead, but I don't think he will. He knows at this point that, looking at that time, that he is well on course for a course record. So the last thing he's going to want to do is slow down if he can. He's into the convention center grounds now. That's the final turn for him. So it's the home stretch. And look at that time. History is going to be made here today in Xiamen. He's into the convention center itself now as he makes this turn. What a performance from the Ethiopian. He's looking strong and resolute. Not far to go now, and he knows he's untroubled. Nobody near him. The paces have dropped off. Tabello and Boki as well have dropped off. So it's just Dawit all the way to the end. You can just see Tabello in the background. But it's going to be Dawit, and it's going to be fast. And he crosses the line in record time. That's a 2:06.06, a brand new record to shatter Moses Mossop's from 2015. Well done to Dawit. Tabello does Lesotho proud by taking second. And he's also beaten Moses Mossop's record by 100th of a second with a 2:06.18. Great run from Tabello. Last year's winner, Asefo Boki, follows in third with a 2:06.32. He tried his best today, but wasn't helped by that one hydration stop that went wrong. Maybe those last few seconds would have made a difference. Who knows? So with the men's race down and records set from 2 of the top 3 positions, we can let those men cool off and get ready for their trophies while we check in with the women's competition. And it's a much easier situation for Ruti Aga, who, as you can see, is running in isolation. Guteni has dropped back. She's now alone with a pack of men around her and approaching the final turnback point by the Zhongshan Yacht Club. Almost at the 40-kilometer mark. Still looking very strong. Zero signs of fatigue from the Ethiopian. So Ethiopia now on course for a double win again here at Xiamen this year. If she finishes, and that is looking likely, she will be the 14th Ethiopian winner in the women's competition since the first race was run in 2003. 14 Ethiopian wins in 22 editions. That's an amazing run of results from that country. She's now past the turn at this point. All she has to do is keep going. Looking very good for the win. The paces are willing her on, as this will also be a very fast time, if not the record based on this pace. Not far to go now, just under 3 kilometers. This was a stretch of road that was used to such great effect by her countryman Dawit Wolde. She has time to pick up some final hydration, surely, as a result from the hot sun. Then it's back to the racing line, being willed on by the paces once again. She's seen off all the challengers over the distance, and there were a few. She's outpaced them all and not missed a beat while doing it. Absolutely brilliant performance from Ruti Aga. Very close now to the final section. That turn back off the coastal road onto Fujian Road coming up. Just past that, it's roughly a kilometer before she turns into the convention center grounds. It's now a mental fight with herself, mind against body. So different from a situation where you have another runner that you can focus on, much like the finish of the men's race today. There's the corner into Fujian coming up. Still looking strong, running style, not looking fatigued in any way. Sun still shining and beating down here. But as you can see, as you look down the road, no competitors for her to deal with at all. She's doing very, very well. The pace is still willing her on. And I think they're having a running conversation with her actually as she passes the 41-kilometer mark. Very close now to that final turn. Here it is coming up. You can just imagine what's going through her mind as she makes this turn after some 40 kilometers of running at race pace, in fact course record pace, to see this last stretch You can't imagine the psychological effect it has to have on any runner. Well, she takes that corner smoothly. So you can see the sun still beating down here. It really turned up halfway through the race. But since, it has been unrelenting. And congratulations to all the runners really here today. They've really outdone themselves, elites or amateur, in dealing with that sun. So she's into the final stretch. She's never looked like falling off the pace, even when pushed by the likes of Guteni or Victor. Running style looking solid enough. Maybe a bit more laboured in the arm swing, but that can be expected at the race pace that she's been running at. Once again, she's looking to match her compatriots' efforts in the men's race by breaking the women's record today as well, and she's well on course to do it. So, just closing in on the convention center grounds. Absolutely nobody behind her. Coming up to that final turn. Looks like the pacers are looking back more than she is. She knows she doesn't have to look back. But once again, just look at that time. 2:16.58 from here. It's almost a guaranteed record. So closing in on the convention center. And there's the turn. So she's into the turn. These are the convention center grounds now. One last stretch before she gets to the finish straight. Looking as strong as she has for some time now. Absolutely unstoppable. She's outlasted the best, and there is nothing to trouble her as she makes the final dash home. What a performance today from Ruti Aga. Into the final stretch. It's about 50 odd meters from here now, and there is no way that she's going to be slowing down. She's going to be pushing right till the end. Started making her move about halfway in the marathon, and since then has been strong, so a good negative split strategy from her as well. This is guaranteed going to be the record. Good, strong finish, just as strong as she started. And she's through with a 2:18.46. That breaks Mare Dibaba's 2015 2:19. It's a double record for Ethiopia here at the 2025 Xiamen Marathon. Absolutely incredible. So we have a winner in the men's and the women's, both from Ethiopia, both smashing the course records. And now it's all about second and third in the women's race. And here comes Guteni Shona Imana. She's had to push to stay ahead of Victory Adamsu, who you can see is just behind her. But she's done enough. On to the last stretch for her. Good, solid, reliable running style. Looking a bit fatigued, but she's going to do it. Staying strong. She can see the finish line, has a quick look back over her shoulder at Victor. She knows she's going to do it. And she's through with a 2:23.11. Victor Adams just 4 seconds behind her, finishing in third. And she has to sit down as that last push was just too much for her. But well done to all three. So men's and women's winners in, and about time now for the prize ceremony for these wonderful athletes. They've put in an absolutely superhuman effort today here in Xiamen It's really the case every year, but this year has been another one of those fast runs. Men first. Sefa Boki on the podium again, but this time in third. Tebello steps up to take second place for Lesotho. And it's Dawit Wolde who takes top spot on the podium. All will now get medals, commemorative plaques, flowers and checks from our VIPs on hand. Here come the medals. Medal for third. For second. VIP on hand, of course, with the first place gold medal as well. So plaques up next for all three. And here come the flower garlands for our three winners. And then, of course, finally, the prize money checks. But for two of the top three, what was really important this year was breaking that 2015 record set by Moses Mossop. Their names are now etched in history. And there's confirmation of this year's winners in the men's competition. Congratulations to all three. So it's now to the women's podium. And here it is. Victory Adamsu in third place. Uteni Imana in second. And the unstoppable Ruti Aga in top spot. As was the case with the men, they are now in line for medals, plaques, flowers and checks from our VIPs on hand. Here come the medals. For third place, for Guteni in second, and Ruti with the gold medal on top spot. quick photo shoot with the medals before the commemorative souvenir plaques for all three. And that will be followed by the flower garlands, of course. And here they come. So after this photo shoot, it will finally be the prize money checks. Here they come. And there's the confirmation of our winners in the women's race today. Congratulations to all three. Let's look back at the highlights now, and what a turnout it was early this morning on a great day of racing at Xiamen, as it is every year. A smooth start for some 30,000 runners. The elites set the pace as they passed some of Xiamen's famous landmarks. It was a big pack of around 15 for over half the race. As it wore on, with good weather throughout, and some big smiles on the faces of some of these main body runners. It was a pack of 7 near the end. As the race progressed and the fans watched, in the end it was the elites that would power through in record time, both in the men's and the women's, and it would be that man there, Dawit Wolde, who would come through, especially in the second half of the race. As always, great sights and sounds from everyone. This was just past the 30-kilometer mark. The pack still, as you can see, around about 7. Smiles on everybody's faces everywhere else on the course as they passed the famous landmarks in Xiamen. But it was Dawit Wolde, a Regu who would come through in the men's, and Ruti Aga who would come through as winner in the women's in a record time. And that is all from us. It's goodbye from me. See you next time.